The wreckage of the celestial dawn burned against the violet sky of Dracor Prime, sending plumes of acrid smoke into the atmosphere. Captain Rylan Voss dragged himself from the twisted metal of his cockpit, his flight suit torn and bloodied, but his mind sharp with survival instinct. The emergency beacon was dead. Communications were offline. He was alone on a world humanity had barely charted, deep in the heart of the draconic sovereignty's territory. Or so he thought. A sound, wet, labored breathing, drew him toward the ridge beyond the crash site. Ryland's hand instinctively moved to his sidearm as he climbed over scorched debris and jagged stone. What he found on the other side made him freeze. She lay crumpled against the rocks, her body a masterwork of evolutionary artistry that was now broken and bleeding. Scales of iridescent crimson and gold covered her form, catching the dying light like fractured jewels. Her wings, magnificent even in ruin, were torn and twisted at impossible angles. One arm clutched at a gaping wound in her side where dark blood pooled steadily onto the stone. Seraphine, he'd heard of her. Every human pilot in the Terran Defense Fleet had. She was a legend among the Draconics, a warrior diplomat who had led 3 successful campaigns against the Krill invasion, saving countless worlds. Her beauty was spoken of in hushed tones, but so was her ferocity. Now she was dying. Her golden eyes found him, and despite her pain, they widened with recognition. "Human," she rasped, her voice like wind through caverns. "You survived." Ryland stumbled down the slope toward her. "So did you, barely. The Krill missile. It struck us both." Each word cost her. Her chest heaved with effort. "Your ship took the brunt. Saved my squadron." He knelt beside her, assessing the damage with a medic's practiced eye. Years of combat had taught him field triage. The wound was catastrophic. Her blood wasn't just red. It shimmered with an inner luminescence that was fading by the second. Rylan had seen enough death to recognize it approaching. "I can stabilize you," he said, already pulling the emergency medical kit from his belt. "Hold on." Seraphine's clawed hand shot out, surprisingly strong, and gripped his wrist. "No," she whispered. "It's too late for me. The wound, it's through the heart chamber." "I have minutes, perhaps less. I don't accept that. Captain Voss." She knew his name. Of course she did. "Your kind stubbornness is legendary, but even you cannot defy physiology." Rylan looked at the wound again. She was right, it was mortal by any standard. But something in him, something fundamentally human and fundamentally stubborn, refused to acknowledge defeat. He'd lost too many wingmen, too many soldiers, too many friends to the cold equations of war. Not today. Not her. How far to the nearest settlement? He demanded. 40 kilometers, through hostile terrain. With Krill patrols. She coughed and luminescent blood flecked her lips. "Even if you could carry me, I would die before." Rylan stood abruptly and hurled his helmet to the ground. It bounced twice, the polished surface cracking against stone. The sudden violence of the gesture silenced her. "I didn't fly across 3 star systems," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "Survive a Krill ambush, crash land on a hostile world, and crawl out of a burning wreck just to watch you die because it's too late." He stripped off his damaged flight jacket and tore it into strips with his bare hands. "Humans don't know when to quit. It's our best and worst quality." Seraphine stared at him, something flickering in those golden eyes. Surprise, perhaps, or the ember of something that had begun to fade. "You're insane." "Probably." He knelt again and began packing the wound with torn fabric, his hand steady despite the impossible odds. "But I learned a long time ago that too late is just another way of saying I gave up, and I don't give up." She hissed in pain as he worked but didn't pull away. "Why?" she asked. "We've been enemies for decades. Our species have killed each other by the thousands." Rylan's jaw tightened. "We've also saved each other. Your squadron evacuated the colony on Tarsus III when the Krill overran our defenses. 13,000 human civilians owe their lives to draconic pilots who didn't have to help." He met her eyes. "I don't forget debts. That was strategic alliance." "No." He pulled the makeshift bandage tight, drawing another grunt of pain from her. That was decency, something bigger than politics or war. He stood and assessed their situation. His crash had left a debris trail pointing directly at them. Any Krill patrol would find them within hours. But his neural implant showed a canyon system to the east, and beyond that, "There's a geothermal vent network 3 kilometers from here," he said, pulling up his limited scan data. If we can reach it, I can use the heat to cauterize the wound properly, and the caves will hide us from aerial detection. 3 kilometers. Seraphine's laugh was bitter and wet. I cannot walk 3 meters. I know. Rylan knelt and maneuvered himself beneath her, hauling her arm over his shoulder. She was massive compared to him. Draconics averaged 8 feet tall, and she was no exception. The weight nearly drove him to his knees. That's why you're going to let me carry you. This is madness. Yes. He took 1 step, then another, his augmented muscles screaming in protest. Years of combat enhancement and genetic modification helped, but even so, she was impossibly heavy. But madness is humanity's specialty. They moved in agonizing increments across the alien landscape. Seraphine's breathing grew more labored with each step. Twice Rylan felt her fade, felt the life draining from her massive form. Twice he stopped, did what field medicine he could, and then continued. Why? She whispered again as the canyon walls finally rose around them. Why would you do this? Rylan's answer was simple. Because you're still alive. And while you're alive, there's still a chance. He found the thermal vent, superheated gas venting from deep underground. This is going to hurt. What followed was brutal. Using a salvaged piece of hull plating heated to glowing in the thermal stream, Rylan cauterized the worst of her wounds. Her screams echoed through the canyon, and his own tears mixed with sweat as he worked. But when it was done, when her breathing steadied and the bleeding stopped, he collapsed beside her in the cave. You did it, she whispered, wonder coloring her voice. You impossible, stubborn human. You actually did it. Rylan managed a weak smile. Too late for you. Not while I'm still breathing. In the darkness of the cave, Seraphine's hand found his. Her scales were warm now, not cold, life returning, however tentatively. My people have a saying, she murmured, that hope dies last. But I think humans are what comes after hope dies. What's that? Her golden eyes gleamed in the darkness. Defiance. Above them, the stars began to emerge in Dracor Prime's alien sky. And in the cave, a human and a dragon lady waited together for rescue that might never come. But neither of them had given up. They never would.